social media webinar, Facebook for Beginners. So before we get started, I just want to make sure that everyone can see my screen and that everyone can hear me okay. So if someone would just be kind enough to put out a message. Oh, perfect, thanks. It sounds like we're good to go right away here. So that's great. This has got to be the first time actually that I've done a webinar where there's just no technical difficulties. This is beautiful, great start. So as you can see here, my name is Wade Patterson, and I'm the Social Media and Communications Coordinator with RE/MAX of Western Canada. I know on the intro screen it says Chris Jameson, but nope, this is me today, Wade, doing the webinar. So through today's webinar, you're going to have the ability to ask questions if you need to, and I'll try to get to those at the end. But just so you know, if you ever have any questions related to social media or communications in the future, please be sure to contact me. My email is wpatterson@remax.net. So that's Patterson with one T if you want to jot it down. And you can also call our head office in Kelowna. The number is 1-800-563-3622 and ask for Wade. And I always appreciate any sort of feedback you have on today's webinar. And if you have a suggestion for a future webinar, something you're really hoping that I'd like to cover, just let me know, and I'm happy to look into doing something there as well. So this is my third webinar that I've featured in the social media series. The first was called Social Media Tips and Advice for Agents. And last month we had a webinar that was called Twitter 101. And basically that was a beginner's guide to start up on Twitter, get going with your profile, everything like that. So both of these webinars, in case you missed them, they're on our YouTube channel. That's RE/MAX of Western Canada's YouTube channel. You just search RE/MAX of Western Canada. And they can also be found on the new Region Update website. So be sure to check out that Region Update site because there's a few handy things there. One is our new events section, and there's the calendar that shows what webinars are happening on an ongoing basis. So every Wednesday we do have a webinar, and often we have Design Center 101 and Lead Street 101. Those are regular ones in the cycle. And then we have social media webinars that are give or take on a monthly basis. And those ones are going to focus on different topics every time around. So we've kind of started this starting with the beginner webinars just to get people introduced, but eventually we're going to be moving into a little bit more advanced topics and looking at some of the cool ways you can use social media to your advantage. So the next social media webinar that's going to be happening is March 25th at 9 a.m. Pacific, and that one's all about posting great social media content. So looking forward to that one. So if any of you happen to tune into the Twitter 101 webinar, I spoke a lot about setting up an account, getting your profile ready to go, all of that sort of stuff. And since this webinar is Facebook for Beginners, I'm going to touch on that as well. However, Facebook makes setting up a profile pretty easy. It really helps you with the walkthrough. So I will touch on some of the different areas of Facebook and spend a bit of time showing you how to use it effectively, keeping in mind that this is a webinar that's geared for those who are relatively new to the site. The challenge, as always, though, is some of you who are tuning in or some of you who may be watching this recording on YouTube, you may have a wide range of experience. Perhaps you've been on Facebook for a long time, and you're just looking to kind of get back into it. Maybe your account's become a little bit stale. Others of you may not even have an account or anything like that. So I'm going to do my best to kind of touch on a few key topics, but if I miss something or there's something you really hoped I'd mention, please, you can always contact me. You'll see the last slide in today's webinar is, again, my contact information, and I'm always happy to help you with any of your questions. So I always like to start off with some stats. And here are some recent stats on Facebook. December 2014, it looks like Facebook had an average of 890 million daily active users. Just a mind-blowing statistic. And that should be getting your attention if you're not already using Facebook at this point. So 890 million people are on the site every day. And another really interesting point about that, 745 million mobile daily active users. So this trend of individuals checking their social media accounts on smartphones and even preferring smartphones over computers, we're really seeing that continue. And it might be something to think about when you're posting content on Facebook. And if you don't know what I mean by that, a specific example is once you set up your Facebook profile, there's an area where you have your cover photo or your timeline photo. And you can fill it right up, and on a desktop computer, you'll see all of that. But on mobile, there might be certain parts of the sides that are cut off. And there's some great resources that can show you how to have a cover photo that is really mobile friendly and really works well. So the last stat I have on this slide is according to the 2014 Social Media Marketing Industry Report, Facebook is still the most commonly used social platform. So if you're brand new to the social media thing and you're wondering where to start, you've probably picked the right webinar because Facebook is the right place to get started. So once you fill out the basic contact form, and that's on the main page of Facebook, so you just type into your browser facebook.com, Facebook's going to take you through a couple of easy steps to both find friends, which is what Facebook's all about, and also begin setting up your own profile page. And I'd like to point out that early on in Facebook, when you get going on setting up your profile, it's going to give you the option of going through a walkthrough on your privacy settings. In my opinion, this is a really important step to take, and I believe Facebook calls it the privacy tour, and it's just really valuable. I know sometimes you get going on these new sites and they're trying to get you to go through all these little mini tutorials and stuff, and you don't really have time for it. Well, if you're going to make time, it's worth it for the privacy. And you're going to have certain options through that, so you can select who is seeing the things you're posting. So in some instances, you can allow all of the public. All they have to do is search your name in Facebook, perhaps, and they can view your posts, or you can direct it to only your Facebook friends who can see certain posts that you put out. The reason I mention this is important is because there may be certain information or personal photos that you're putting on Facebook, and you may not be comfortable with just anyone going through and looking at that stuff. So it's a good idea to go through the privacy tour and select what you're comfortable with. And the privacy tour has a couple of other interesting things. It shows you how tagging works. So essentially that's if you post a photo, you can tag friends who are in that photo, and then if they allow their privacy settings, it'll show up on their Facebook page as well. And it shows you a few privacy shortcuts as well. But one question I think is really common for real estate agents is the question of whether or not you should have a personal account and a business page. So I'm going to take a little bit of time on this slide because I think it's an important distinction to make. So first off, you definitely need a personal account. After that, you have the option of creating a business page. But it's not really a matter of one or the other. It's really you have your personal account and a business page, or you just have your personal account, because you need that personal account in order to start up the business page. So getting started on Facebook, if you're brand new to it, your first step regardless is going to be setting up your profile. One slight difference between a personal account and a Facebook business page is going to be some of the content that you post. Of course, there are other advantages of business pages as well, and I'll touch on some of those in a bit. But on your personal account, it's not a good idea to be posting too much information that solely promotes your business. In fact, Facebook has taken steps to punish those who use personal profiles just for business purposes. So a first reason I would say it's a bad idea to start a personal profile and then just post all of your listings, for example, is because it goes against Facebook's terms of service, and potentially they do have the right to delete your account for going against those terms. But for those of you who have used Facebook before, you'll realize that posting listings, that's not really what it's all about anyways. You start to realize there's a certain etiquette to Facebook that goes along with the site. So I've mentioned this before. So I just had a comment here that my audio is breaking out a little bit. Just want to double check and make sure everyone can still hear me. Is everyone able to hear my audio here? I apologize, it's through a phone setup, but can everyone hear my audio? Lex, I see that you commented that my audio wasn't quite working right. Just wondering if you can still hear it now. Just double checking on the audio here. Can anyone hear my audio? Let's see here. If someone could send me a comment, just let me know if the audio is working or if it's breaking out still. Just wondering, we might be having some tech. Oh, we can hear. Thank you, Sharon. Appreciate that. Thanks so much. All right, so I'll try to make sure I speak up here. It's not the greatest microphone I'm using, but I appreciate that comment. Great. So just getting back to this. So like I said, there is a certain etiquette that goes along with using Facebook. And I've mentioned this before. Social media, it's all about, the whole purpose is to be social. So people turn to sites like Facebook to interact with one another, to see highlights and updates on each other's lives. And as real estate agents, I'm sure you all know the importance of being involved in your communities. Well, much of that community these days is happening online. So when we talk about the importance of being on social media, one of the reasons is because that's where greater numbers of the community and potential clients are spending their time. So just as a personal example, here in Kelowna I play on a soccer team, and literally all the news I get about upcoming games, team events, everything like that, that's through Facebook. So Facebook in itself has really become a platform of where community happens. So one of the reasons we encourage our agents to be on social media and on Facebook is because if you're not, you're really missing a huge part of the way the community interacts. So what types of things should you post on your Facebook account? Well, there can be a variety of things. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying don't post anything related to the real estate industry on your personal page. All of that information, super helpful. But rather than just posting listings, perhaps you can get a little creative with it. So post an article that perhaps gives insight to what's happening in the local real estate market. You might consider posting some DIY tips that are helpful. If you have a work accomplishment that you're proud of, definitely share that with your network. So depending how comfortable you are with this, I'd also advise posting things from your personal life to your personal account. So such as photos of a trip you were on, enjoying the weekend, etc. So posting things like this might seem a little bit odd at first in terms of helping your business, but a quick example. So I was recently talking to one of my coworkers, and he mentioned that he has several real estate agents on his Facebook. However, he distinctly remembers one of them posting pictures that showed that individual watching the Vancouver Canucks with his son. My coworker said instantly he felt like he had a bit of common ground, a bit of connection with that agent because he's watched games himself with his son as well. And so just instantly, by posting something about their real life, you connect with other individuals who maybe have something in common. So as always, it's important to be part of the community, and social media is increasingly becoming part of that community. But with that said, one quick caution I'd throw out there, please be mindful of what you're posting to social media. So if you went out for quite a few drinks on the weekend, even though it's your personal Facebook account, those photos might not be appropriate. And for a few people on your Facebook page, they might even find that pictures like these lower your credibility in terms of being able to do your job effectively. So just beware of the impression you're setting when you do post personal photos. So once you're comfortable with how Facebook is working and you want to take it to the next level, you may want to consider creating a Facebook business page. So this can be a great idea, especially if you're wanting to get more serious about building your brand, perhaps you're interested in buying Facebook ads, etc. Another great feature about a business page is that a business page provides a section called Insights. And essentially what this does is it tracks analytics and shows you other data about people who are coming to your page and also all of the interactions with posts that you make. In terms of the content you're providing on a business page, again, rather than just listings, you want to post interesting content that's valuable to the consumer and that they're going to find engaging. So this could include the latest market trends in your community, information about decorating perhaps, links to promotions currently being put on by yourself or RE/MAX of Western Canada, or even your own content, such as blog posts, images, or videos. The reason I mention a business page will cost you a bit more time is because remember, you must also have a personal account to start a business page. So if you're already taking time to post information on your personal page, now you're going to also need to make sure you're dedicating a bit of time to your Facebook business page as well, because you really don't want either of these accounts to become stale and inactive. So whether you're sticking to just the personal account or perhaps you're running both the personal account and a business page, one of your biggest challenges, especially early on, may be finding content to post. So at RE/MAX of Western Canada, we try to make this a little bit easier for you. If you visit our page, and you do that by just within Facebook searching for RE/MAX of Western Canada, you'll see that first off, you have the option to like us, which is really important because then you'll get some of our posts coming through your news feed. But you will see that we regularly post shareable content. So we might post design tips or interesting articles or other things that you can easily share and pass on to your networks. And the way we built up our social media structure is that RE/MAX of Western Canada is providing information, shareable content, event info, all that sort of stuff for agents. So with regard to the shareable content, we always try to word the description so you know this is something you can easily share. So an example would be, consider passing on these 12 bathroom design ideas with your clients, and then there will be a link to an article below that with all the information. So for you, rather than going out and finding that information on your own, you'll see that we've already provided it, so you just have to click that share button, perhaps add a comment, and voila, that's on your Facebook page. That's sent out to your whole network. And in a little bit, I'm going to go into a live example on Facebook and just show a little bit more about what I mean for each of these things. So we also have a Facebook page that's RE/MAX Canada, and that's one that we jointly work on with RE/MAX Ontario Atlantic, and this one is consumer-facing. So this is directly articles we're putting out to consumers of interest, and ultimately the goal with that is going to be to drive traffic back to remax.ca. One of the things I like to stress when it comes to social media is that it looks really, really bad and pretty unprofessional to have a stale social media account. But trust me, I completely understand how sometimes it's difficult to keep active on all of these different social media sites. So it's always great to be on as many social media sites as you can, but, and this is a clear exception, as long as you're not biting off more than you can chew, and that's really the key. So if Facebook is the first social media site you're considering, that's great. Like I said before, this is the perfect place to start. But sometimes people, they get excited about social media and they want to start it all at once, and they want to get active on every site, and they might quickly realize day in, day out, they've bitten off more than they can chew. All of a sudden they have no desire to post anything on any of their accounts, and all of their accounts become stale. And this is something I've come across bumping into a few different agents through social media. Sometimes you'll see the last thing they posted was 8 months ago or something. And just keep in mind that social media is also very searchable as well, and especially if you haven't kind of tinkered with your privacy settings, a potential customer might come to your social media account and see that there's that inactivity. And again, it makes it look like perhaps you're not with the times, perhaps you're just a little bit lazy, who knows? And these might not be true assumptions at all, but those are impressions that it can give off. So what I'm going to do right now is take you into a live example on Facebook, because I always like doing that over just a PowerPoint. So there we go. Hopefully no technical difficulties here. And yeah, so although this account says my name, it says Wade Patterson there, this is just a fake account that I created for the purposes of leading this webinar. I wanted to kind of have something that looked like a fresh profile, so I just created this account a few days ago. So don't worry, the person teaching you this webinar this isn't my actual Facebook page. But this is what the homepage will look like when you first start up on Facebook and when you first set it up. So it's a great idea to choose a cover photo right away and get that going on your profile. That's right there. And you also want to update your information, and that's over here. And as you start to build your profile, which is no matter what social media you're on, I really advise early on kind of putting some effort into setting up your profile. The beauty about Facebook is they have this blue bar right here that kind of instructs you and tells you how close you are to having your profile complete. But do keep in mind, you don't have to do everything that Facebook suggests. So Facebook's going to ask you for tons of information, and you can provide them with as much as you're comfortable with. But for example, if you aren't comfortable providing a relationship status just as an example. You don't have to do that. You can put whatever information you choose. So I mentioned early in the webinar that you can take a privacy tour when you first set up your account, but perhaps you already have a Facebook account and this is something that you haven't really checked out and you want to double check what your settings are. There's this little lock icon that's near the top right here, and you click that, and that's the privacy shortcut icon. So right there, there's a drop down and there's information who can see my stuff, so you click there and you can control that. The next one is who can contact me. Again, it's a drop-down menu. You can either do basic filtering, strict filtering, set those privacy standards. And if someone's bothering you or harassing you, anything like that, Facebook has a little section there, and you can block them as well. Another thing I mentioned a little earlier is that once you become familiar with the site, and I really do advise that, get comfortable with your personal profile, and then even after a little bit, once you start to feel comfortable with the site, then consider moving to the Facebook business page. But you might want to, or you might be wondering how to find that. So there's two main places you can find how to create a business page. One is just going to facebook.com before you log in. At the bottom of the page, there's a little section that has create a page for a business. But if you're already in Facebook, this arrow at the top right, you click that, a drop-down menu appears, and you see the Create Page button, and you just click that. And there you'll see the different pages you can create, one here for a local business or place. So going back to just the main personal account, so eventually you should be able to find a few sources of shareable content. But one of those sources that I advise you look for is us at RE/MAX of Western Canada, because we do make an effort usually daily, to at least post something out there that you can be easily sharing with your network. So to get to our page, you just click up at the top, and this whole white area is the search bar, and you just begin typing RE/MAX, and here I've got it auto-populated RE/MAX of Western Canada. Click there, and this is going to take you to the RE/MAX of Western Canada Facebook page. And if you haven't already done so, please like our page. And the reason you want to like it is because then information we put out there, not every single piece of information, but some of it is going to get sent directly to your news feed, and that it's just making it easier. If you see something that's cool that you want to pass on to your networks, it's right there in your news feed, and it makes it easy. So as you look down the page, there might be an article you see that you think, hey, this is a great thing that I could share with my network. So here, as I mentioned before, when we posted this 22 hours ago, consider passing along these clever tips to maximize cabinet space with your clients. So you might think, hey, that's something that's really great, really helpful. So rather than you having to go out and find this article yourself, you can simply click the share button, and here this pops up. And it gives you a little field that you can comment on this. So it doesn't have to be anything too detailed. You can even say, interesting article, and then you just click share link right here, and it says this was successfully posted on your timeline. So now if you click on your profile, you'll see that this article has been shared here, but not just there, it has also gone into many of your friends, so any Facebook friends that you have, it will go into their main Facebook news feed as well. And as long as you're posting interesting content that people find valuable, this is just a great thing to do. So from your own page, you can also post your own information, photos, etc. So you just click on this box here. Right now it says what's on your mind. You just click there, and you can begin typing whatever you want. I've kind of pre-written an example of something that you can post, so I'm just going to copy-paste this. Here we go. So have you heard about the Quest for Excellence bursary program? This is a great opportunity for grade 12 students, and then we have the link right beside it. Now, a great thing Facebook does, because social media is such a visual medium, is that when you post a link, often it will go and it will find a photo from that website, and it will include that with the link below. But you may run into the issue of, hey, I don't really like that photo. You can't really see what's going on. No problem at all. All you have to do is click this little X. you can remove this drop-down, and if you have your own photo, you just click either here or here. Click Add Photos to your post. I click that. I pull up a photo I would like to use instead. Click Open. And now, when I post this, you'll see that you kind of maybe have a little bit more of an exciting photo. The link is still here, so people can still find how to access the Quest for Excellence bursary program. And you've just posted this kind of clever little helpful article to all of the people in your network. So that's always a great way to do it. If you're not happy with what you just posted, or if you make a little mistake, no problem. You can click this little top arrow right here, and you can either edit your post, or you can also delete it if you wish. So one last thing I want to go over in the live example, realizing we only have about 5 minutes left in the webinar, is that if you click this Facebook icon in the top left-hand corner, this is going to take you to the home screen. And since this is a really new account that I just created for the purposes of this, this only has a few things on it. But once you get going on Facebook, once you have some Facebook friends, once you've started liking some pages, this home page is really where all the action happens. This is where, I believe it's called your live news feed, and you're getting constantly information from friends, and everything that's valuable comes up here. So just a couple quick things for those of you who are brand new to Facebook. So on the left, you have some of your links that you'll need. So once you start being involved with events or messages, there's all the apps on the left as well. And then on the right-hand side, we have this cool thing that Facebook added last year, which is called trending. So usually it's the interesting articles that people are sharing on the internet. And hey, if you find something interesting there that you think your network will find interesting, that's also shareable content that's really easy to find. And then also some suggested pages here. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint for our last couple of slides. So one topic I want to bring up is that this is something maybe you've already experienced on Facebook, or something that you may experience once you get going on Facebook in the future. But as I mentioned earlier, Facebook is a form of community. And as sometimes happens in communities, people tend to disagree on issues. And these conversations sometimes play out in lengthy things called Facebook threads or Facebook conversation threads. And so topics I've recently seen on my own personal Facebook include views on vaccination, whether or not people should see 50 Shades of Grey, etc. And it might seem kind of silly at first, but people can get quite heated in issues. And at times, maybe someone says something so ridiculous you feel inclined to comment, and you want to add your voice to the conversation. But I'd really warn you to think carefully about it, and maybe just hesitate before doing so. Because even if you can back up your position and you feel confident you're correct on a certain issue, your viewpoint on this isolated issue may go against other people who are your Facebook friends, or other people who have liked your Facebook business page. If you are constantly adding your voice to controversial topics, just keep in mind you may be affecting future business. Because if your views go against those who are friends of yours on Facebook, they might not want to do business with you in the future. But it is tempting to add to your voice sometimes, and I've been really tempted myself. But a rule I have is that I like to wait a day. That's kind of my rule on these comments. When I really feel heated to add my voice, I just wait a full day. And what I usually find is when I return to that conversation, either I no longer feel that urge to add my voice, or the other thing is that often someone else will have already said my point of view, so that point of view has gotten across. So there's no need for me to chime in at that point. So it's just something you may come across, and just be a little bit careful about that. So you always want to be expanding your network on Facebook and connecting with as many people as you're comfortable with in terms of the personal account, and you want as many people as possible in terms of liking your business page. So always be willing to expand your Facebook friend list, and if you have a Facebook business page, encourage people to like it. So you might do this by adding that little thumbs up symbol if you have a newsletter that goes out, perhaps adding it to your email signature. I'm on Facebook, like my page, something like that. And with that said, make sure that you are providing them with fresh, relevant content, because you want to make sure the people who have liked your page continue to like your page. You don't want to get people leaving your page if you haven't posted anything in months and months. They may say, well, what's the point of liking this? And they may leave. All right, so that's getting to the end of this. So just a couple of main points. And I hope you got a bit of value from this webinar, but just the two main things I really want to stress on is that if you are going to start with Facebook, start with that personal account and then consider moving to a business page. And a business page can be great if you have the time and you want to put a few marketing dollars behind your social media effort as well. It's a great option for you. Also, with any social media site, not just Facebook, don't just solely post your listings. And we've seen a couple of real examples of people who just, whether it's Twitter or Facebook, constantly posting listings. And I think that kind of goes against the spirit of social media. So you want to be posting content that others find interesting and just give them a reason to keep you on their friends list or to keep on liking your page. All right, everyone, I want to thank you all for taking the time to tune into today's webinar. I hope the audio was okay. I'm not 100% sure if it was cutting in and out a little bit, but if anyone has any questions they'd like to throw at me at the bottom here, very much be willing to answer those on a one-on-one basis, and I hope everyone has a great day. And you can also look for this webinar. It's going to be posted to YouTube, and I will also be posting it on the Region Update. So thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.